'Tis the 16th of the 9th, 2024. The time is 8:05. And on this evening, we need to talk about Lando Norris. And so too, we need to talk about one Maximilian Verstappen, who's gone scorched earth on Red Bull and the travails of that car. Lest we forget that there are stakes at hand as far as Maximilian Verstappen. Why? Because he's got options on the table. Mercedes still looming, hovering around him like vultures. And probably, for the avoidance of doubt, every other team on the grid. For the avoidance of doubt, Maximilian Verstappen is soon to be 4-time champion. And as far as teams up and down the grid, he has his pick of the litter. But let's talk first about Lando Norris, because he's come out and said so many different things about the polemic that was yellow flag gate. Lest we forget, in Q1 of this weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix qualifying session, Lando Norris put himself in 17th and then got promoted to 15th. Why? Because in Q1, on the exit of turn 16, something happened. What happened? Well, Lando Norris made a mistake. Some say that but for that error, notwithstanding the yellow flag, Lando Norris may still have got through to Q2 even. The margins in qualifying are always fine. Therefore, I've listened to very many podcasts dissect for this automotive pugilism Rubik's Cube that is Lando Norris and yellow flag gate. And each and every single one, to a man, says that he needed to play that more savvy. Just be a bit more intelligent with the lift out of the throttle. Because why? Well, George Russell had a very similar circumstance. Yellow flags on encountering one Carlos Sainz Jr. down the runoff area. But George Russell, different in stark contrast to Lando Norris, had the wherewithal to survey his environment, understand the causality of the yellow flag, do one of these, put up your hand just like you would do in karting, lift off the throttle to show that you've seen the yellow flag, and that in turn allows you to make your case before the FIA stewards. Don't abort the lap completely though, like Lando Norris did. Surely you wouldn't do that if indeed you're fighting for a championship versus one Maximilian Verstappen in real time. Surely not. But Lando Norris has responded, always got something to say as Lando, and fair play to the lad for backing him. Here's what he had to say: that all of the critics talking about yellow flag gate are talking nonsense. Here's what he had to say. Lando Norris, Mr. Glass half empty, that this was one of the most unfair things that I think has happened to me in a long time. He told the official F1 channel, the one that Fs. I went off track, yes, but then there's a yellow flag and you viewers can't see the flag, mate. We could see George Russell's one though, as you could. But George didn't react as you did, Lando Norris. What are we talking about? So everyone was talking about the white flag and all this nonsense. What they can't see is my dash, which had a big yellow lights on there. So a lot of people are talking nonsense and stuff like that, says Lando Norris, Mr. Glass half empty settings. But I had to lift and that took away my chances. Bloody Nora, Lando. Honestly, I cannot with this chap. I feel like he's a big man in groups these days. Always got something to say at the wrong time. What are you talking about, Lando? This is a difference in extents and not kinds. Compare and contrast the throttle lift that George did just to do one of these. Put up his hands as you would do in karting. I recognise the yellow flags. I see them. And stewards can't accuse me of not having seen them. Why? Because I put up my hand. That's why you do the very brief, subtle throttle lift. That's what George Russell did. And Sir Lewis Hamilton did too in Q1. There were other drivers who had this problem that needed to solve for it. Lando Norris, therefore, of the 20 on the grid, is the only one, when presented with this issue, when doing the cost-benefit analysis, that risking going out in Q1, he sacrificed his success in his ability to compete in real time with Maximilian Verstappen. Lando Norris, for the avoidance of doubt, should have won that race yesterday, but for this mistake. And again, he sacrifices his own success even, as always, at the altar of unforced errors, race savvy or lack thereof. Take some responsibility, Lando Norris. We're rooting for you, chap. Do you know what I mean? I want him to fight for the championship over the remaining races this season, but he has no hope if he continues in this vein. Oh, and by the way, Maximilian Verstappen has come out and absolutely destroyed the bulls that are red for all of their ills and the car. We know they experienced difficulty again going into the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The thing that Max kept complaining about was understeer, -5 brake bias, and the car still bloody won't turn in. Maximilian Verstappen's words, not mine. However, now, as at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, things were different. They were meant to have cured for some of those ills, having brought themselves a new mishmash of a floor. Helmut Marko said the real problems began at Barcelona, courtesy of an ill-advised upgrade, hence why they've unwound some of those upgrades around the floor, brand new wing beam, to get closer back to the balance that they had that was so brilliant and served them so well earlier on this season. Here's what Maximilian Verstappen had to say. The ill-handling Red Bull was on 3 wheels in most corners. That's how bad it is. That can't be well for mechanical traction, can it? And especially if understeer to snap oversteer is your issue, then of course that's only going to be exacerbated by having 3 contact patches on that RB19. Here's what Maximilian Verstappen had to say verbatim. All the setup changes we made were initially going in the right direction during free practice. However, between the final free practice session and qualifying, we took it a step further, a step too far. Maximilian Verstappen says we paid a price for that risk. What we found out where the mistake was, when we found out where the mistake was, it was far too late. Then a challenge to all those who already saw McLaren as world championship contenders, if not champions elect. He says we win as a team and we lose it as a team. However, Maximilian optimistically says the battle for the championship, both constructors and drivers, is not yet lost. Oh, the humanity. Maximilian Verstappen continues, as cited by a different source, that the car was very difficult to handle. Basically, what I was worried about after qualifying and during qualifying was my main issue in the race, where I had a lot of problems with the car jumping around. I was losing contact with the tarmac. There was always one wheel on each axle coming off the ground in low speed corners. Low speed corners, ladies and gentlemen. I was losing a lot of lap time there, therefore. On the braking as well, the car was jumping and just a lot of sliding because of that. And we know that you don't want that in a race, so that all spiraled into a lot of difficulties. What's Maximilian Verstappen talking about? Brake issues too, lack of confidence, lack of balance. Therefore, there are very many problems in this Red Bull Racing pie, as at the 16th of the 9th, 2024. Christian Horner also expounds upon the issues facing Red Bull as they go into Singapore, another track around which they've had not insubstantial problems in the most recent past, over the past few seasons. Here's what Horner says. We traced the development history back, and it turned out that the first mistake we made was that the underbody upgrade in 2023 at Barcelona. That was the Grand Prix from which Checo started having problems with the car. We didn't take it seriously, however, because Max Verstappen just kept winning. Sporting director Helmut Marko adds, we took a really wrong turn this year at Imola. And then to compound issues, and again, all of success in F1 is always a function of your ability to sign and keep good people from leaving. Intellectual property settings. Red Bull also annoyed and being perturbed, rattled by the Adrian Newey issue. Why? Well, because everybody said Adrian Newey left at Suzuka, and ever since the car has been a dog. Could you not benefit from Adrian Newey's ability to step back and take a view, see the F1 wood from the F1 trees? To which Pierre Vacher and Enrico Balbo, the dudes who were meant to be taking over for Adrian Newey, the dudes who are responsible in earnest in real time for fixing that RB20 and making it as good as the RB19 once was, they said they have their aerodynamic and technical team in a place sufficiently independent to where they can operate aside from Adrian Newey. They said that once Adrian Newey leaves, you will see no downside effects of his absence, that there will be no downstream ramifications for not having Adrian Newey as an aerodynamicist. I've never in my life heard something more disingenuous and ill-advised than that statement in my life. Again, I say, for the avoidance of doubt, your ability to win races and therefore championships in Formula One is a function directly, intrinsically linked to your ability to sign and keep good people. Losing Adrian Newey is nothing if not the antithesis, the absolute opposite, diametrically opposed to that thesis. How therefore could we expect anything else to happen apart from Red Bull to lose steam and momentum? Therefore, Pierre Vacher and Enrico Balbo are good, but are they Adrian Newey good? Somehow, I think not, ladies and gents. I digress.